The podcast lives to see another day. Ladies and gentlemen, I am stunned, flabbergasted, exhausted, torn apart, man. It is Saturday, May 13th. It is 1:11 in the morning. It is thundering so loudly. Rain is dumping down. Of course, as you know, I've got this stupid chimney in this apartment, and so you can hear all the noise amplified times 10. So, and if you heard that, like if I ever just like tweak out during this episode, it's just because I'm hearing the loudest thunder I've ever heard in my entire life. So the mood is set, honestly. Late night, crazy storm. We are at war, ladies and gentlemen. We are at war. When I say we, I'm talking about the Boston Celtics. Cancel your Mother's Day plans. We got Game 7 in Boston. Nothing better than that, honestly. Look, it's no secret. I hinged the life and death of this podcast on the success and failure of the Celtics Game 6. And we're here. We live to see another day, and we're thankful for it. We're going to talk about the Warriors at the back half of this podcast just being eliminated by the Lakers. Of course, the Heat take care of business with the Knicks. We're going to get into all that at that's probably another episode, but we do have some Warriors stuff at the back half. They're going to have a busy offseason after pretty disappointing series against the Lakers. But we got to start it off hot. Game 6, Celtics, Sixers, maybe the weirdest game ever. It's the weirdest game that we've seen in a long time. It was a game full of self-sabotage, heroism. It was something, honestly, straight out of a damn movie script. It was nuts. It was bonkers. It is one of my favorite games in recent memory, maybe over the past 5 years. One of my favorite Tatum games, one of my favorite just Celtics games, one of my favorite Marcus Smart games. There's a lot to unpack with it. I know it's a little bit of a delayed reaction, but man, it took me about this long just to get my heart rate under control, just to get my feelings, my emotions reeled in and intact. And it's okay because we have 2 days off from this series and no basketball on Saturday. So now we can kind of shift our focus to this series in full. We got one last go around. This series has been a dogfight. And who's gonna hit harder? Game 5, of course, I did the podcast after that. And hey man, none of that, my deep, monotone, saddened voice, that wasn't like an act. It wasn't a stage. This shit is my life, okay? I bleed green. I live and die for this team. I'm wearing the Gronk Pats 87 right now. I'm just surrounding myself with winning, things that remind me about winning right now. I got the Tommy Heinsohn poster out in the living room right now. It's hanging. I put Tommy out there to watch Game 6 with me. It worked. So he'll probably be watching Game 7. I'm not wearing any jerseys or anything of guys who didn't win titles over the next couple of days. All my James Harden jerseys, because you know I love James Harden. I took them all off the rack. I put them in a box, not burning them. None of them are Philly. I will not get a Philly James Harden jersey. They're Houston. And I still got love for James Harden, but man, nothing has been better than watching him go 4 for 16, have games 2 and 3. But those jerseys are in a box to the left. Okay, they're not here right now. Game 5 absolutely destroys me. Celtics fans everywhere are dumping on Tatum, Brown, Mazzulla, Smart. These guys suck. They're the worst. No effort, no energy, no hustle. And they're right. Okay, and they're right. And this team looked off. They looked low energy, low effort. I called into question the effort of many players. Um, and I just, that's how I felt. That's how I felt. And it was right to do so because of what they showed, what they displayed across not only game 5, but across this whole series, this whole playoffs, parts of this regular season, these just chunks of the season where they would just quit or not show up. And it's infuriating because we've seen when this team's locked in and engaged, there's reasons why this team is, you know, labeled as maybe the most talented team in the sport right now. But I sit with a pit in my stomach for the next 24 hours following game 5. And I wake up Thursday morning with a really renewed mindset. I was joyous. I was excited. I was like, we're going to play a game with real stakes tonight. Like, the game matters. Like, this is really important stuff. And yeah, one of the potential outcomes is failure and misery and a long off season and maybe a breaking up of this nucleus. But if we're going to hit our heads against the wall, let's just do it now. And let's do it against our rival, Philly. Let's do it against the MVP, Joel Embiid. And I got excited and I was giddy. I was sitting on my couch, jersey on. I was locked in. I wasn't getting up. If I had to pee, it was during a timeout. If it was I wasn't leaving to go get food at halftime, I could not miss a second of this game. And it's been a while since that energy has really been on me. I know for sure, but I think just Celtics fans in general, we've not played a game with this level of stakes. I don't know since when. I mean, I know we were in the NBA Finals last year, but if I think if we're all honest, we were really happy to make the finals. I think we were really happy to just stave off the Heat and make it to the finals. And it felt like we were a little ahead of schedule. I talked about this on the last pod. The Celtics perceptually may have boned themselves by always being in the playoffs. They never didn't have a what's now a traditional rebuild where it's like tank, miss the playoffs, get high draft picks. They had the luxury of having high draft picks while being able to compete. And so we're like, man, failed playoff run after failed playoff run. But really, how long have we had a true contending roster? I'd say since last year. Maybe you could argue 2020, the bubble. But Tatum at 20 in his year 22 season and Brown year 23. Yeah, not really. In retrospect, not really. And I know the Heat went on to not really perform very well in that finals, but they were more equipped, I guess. Jimmy Butler already kind of in his prime at that point. It is now hailing outside, and I'm a little distraught because I'm thinking about my car. I live in San Antonio, Texas. This shouldn't be happening. We're going to power through it. Let's get to the game, man. 15-3 start for the Celtics. And that feels probably on par. That felt right. It was like, okay, one of these teams is going to come out swinging and desperate, and it was going to be Boston. It just mattered if their swings, if their punches were going to land. And fortunately for C's fans, they did. They did land. Man, the story is crazy. We're going to pause real quick. All right, this is some straight up sketchy weather, man. But we're already into this podcast, so we're just gonna keep rolling. If I shouldn't have to pause again, though, just thank you for bearing with me during these crazy times. Let's talk some Celtics basketball. Let's try to just do that. We're talking about the start. 15-3 start for the Celtics. And they were hitting hard, and the punches were landing, and shots were falling. Most importantly, effort was off the charts. Marcus Smart just ripping the ball out of Joel Embiid's hands, just getting active. This was Marcus Smart as we know him to be. Where has he been? Did this version of Marcus Smart still exist? Defensive Player of the Year version of Marcus Smart still exists? Where's it been? Been begging for it, man. I love Marcus Smart, but when I call for him to be traded, it's because he doesn't play like this every night. And when he plays like this, it's no joke that he is one of the best point guards in the NBA. He made good decisions all night. He wasn't careless with the ball. He wasn't taking poor shots. When you take Marcus Smart and you give him good shot selection, he takes care of the ball and he's trying his ass off on defense. That is one of the best point guards in the NBA. It's not even, it's just a fact. He is that special, that talented. He's made those strides over his career. So it really hurts to see him take such a step backwards. And it's felt like he has done that. So Marcus Smart, still awesome. Check. Jaylen attacking early. 17 for him early on. Also, Jaylen, let's just address it now. Second half, 3 shot attempts all second half. What is that? What is that? What is a Jaylen Brown game with 3 shot attempts in the second half when that's been the story all series long? I called him out for it last podcast. I've been tweeting about it. It's pissing me off. Okay, Jaylen, you are awesome. You are a dog. You have never been shy of the moment, never been scared of the moment. And you, yet again, fade away in the second half. It's not who I know him to be. It's not who we all know him to be. He is always pretty awesome down the stretch of games, especially when Jason's not got it going. They are the ultimate yin and yang. And that's kind of how this series has been. And I saw somebody say this online. Jaylen is our starter and Jayson is our closer. You know, if we were to compare it to baseball pitching terms, I actually don't hate that. Though that's just fact of, that's just how this series has gone, right? Jayson with the ironically bad first halves and Jaylen with the ironically bad second halves. I can't even really call them bad second halves for Jaylen. It's just like the aggression is going away, right? Meanwhile, Tatum has had pretty much a kick-ass second half in most all of these games outside of the one he had foul trouble in. Most of his awesome efforts in game 1, when he had the 39 points, he got out to an 0 for 5 start. Then he still ends up at 39. Game 5, he has 22 second half points. And of course, now game 6, he outscores the entire 76ers team as a whole in the fourth quarter with 16 to their 13. It's been weird. It's been a weird series. As for this game, man, when have you ever seen somebody almost tear down and tarnish their legacy so fast, but then quickly slap a Band-Aid on it and save it? He saved it. Jayson Tatum saved and preserved what was going to be a gross and long and awful narrative about him and this Celtics team had they not taken care of business on Thursday night. Just as a fan, just as a Celtics fan, sitting there watching this guy who's been in our lives for years now, since 2017, and we watched him rookie year go up against LeBron and look the part of what would be a one-day star player, and then to be fourth in MVP voting this season, to be back-to-back all-NBA first-team selections, all very deserving, we would all agree. But then to have this game at this moment in time, that doesn't check out. That's not part of your trajectory upwards. You had 46 in a game 6 in Milwaukee last year. You hit a huge benchmark. You checked off huge playoff performer. You already checked that box off. You had 50 in a playoff game in the bubble. You are a playoff performer. That's what we know you to be. You've always been in the playoffs. You've never missed a playoff run. And it just felt like are we watching like just this awful downfall? And we kind of were. His engagement, I'll say, was incredible everywhere else in the first half. The first half, he gets 2 blocks, couple steals. He's active. He's talking to teammates. He's making the right plays. He got like the fastest 6 assists ever, just by finding the open man. And you're like, okay, another slow shooting start. Okay, the shots will fall. And then it was like, okay, we made it through the entire second quarter, and then we're getting halfway through the third quarter, and he finally scores his first basket on this little layup, just little baby soft finger roll layup, and it's like, okay, does that take the lid off the basket? Didn't. Rest of the third quarter goes silent, and then for much of the fourth quarter is still vacant from this game. Like, where is this man? Where is, like we're running out of time here, dude. And when we were down 2 with about just over 4 minutes to play, there's timeout, I laid flat back on my floor and I prayed for this man, for this team. I said, could we please see this team just do what they do, regain their confidence? Man, prayers were said and prayers were answered. First 3 right there, confident, just rises up in Joel Embiid's face. The man who has been scaring this. I think Tatum's been so psyched out by Embiid. I think Embiid got to him early in the series, swatted some of his stuff in the third row. And yeah, that sucks, but you are an amazing foul shooter. You've gotten so good at drawing contact, getting crafty, getting to the basket. He can get downhill against anybody. Tobias Harris is not stopping Jayson Tatum. Tyrese Maxey is not stopping Jayson Tatum. At points in Game 6, Georges Niang was stopping Jayson Tatum because he had psyched himself out so much. And he starts to get careless, and you're just like, this is the demise. This is like, this is just awful. This is like worse than Houston missing 27 straight threes in a conference final game. He hits the first 3 over Embiid, and you're like, oh my God, the lid is off the basket. You could hear Mark Jones. He's like, Tatum, got it. Freaks out like, oh my God. He woke up, like he showed it to the arena. He's been here this whole time. And then gets the second one, and then gets a third one, and Doris Burke. Hey, I'm going to be on the right side of history when I say that Doris Burke is probably given too much credit. Maybe I'm just being a dick because I'm really annoyed. She's a pain in the ass to listen to for these games. I can't believe she's going to get Actually, I wonder if we're going to get Mike Breen for this game 7, because the Lakers just lost. Can we please get Mike Breen for this game? No, I don't even have a problem with Mark Jones. I thought some of his calls down the stretch were actually awesome. When he said that Tatum doesn't always answer when you call, what's that saying? But he's always on time. Whatever. It was cool, and he was awesome. And Doris Burke just sucks. And is like, there's this meme going around of her with the headset on, but wearing a Sixers jersey. And it is funny. Like, even I've seen some people who are a little bit more neutral towards the situation have noticed it. It's like, I know Joel Embiid's the MVP. I know he's been incredible all season. But, like, dude, there's 2 teams playing, and you're just only acknowledging one of them this entire game. It's really a pain in the ass to listen to. It's actually, if she's calling the game on Sunday, I think I'm going to listen to it or watch the game on mute. Sidetrack, because that's been frustrating. But that 4-minute stretch, I don't recall a stretch that was so pivotal in a player's career. I just don't. And I think it was bigger than just that game. Because let me break this down for you like this. I think had Jayson Tatum come out and shoot 0 for 5, 0 for 6, but then end up shooting like 9 for like 23, 9 for 25. He ends up putting together a halfway decent stat line. I think this trend just continues of just like slow starts. It's just what it is, just who he is now. I think that trend just continues. Had he not hit his head against the wall so hard, 1 for 13, 1 point, 1 for 13, one made field goal. 1 made field goal. 1 for 13. Had he not banged his head against the wall so hard, theoretically, I don't think he snaps out of this little slump, which is what it is. It was a slump. And we've seen him slump before. We've seen Steph Curry slump. We've seen Klay Thompson slump, the greatest shooters ever. We've seen James Harden slump, and James Harden's slumping right now. James Harden, you're not safe. You went 4 for 16 in this game. You weren't good at all. James Harden was not good at all in Game 6. Surprise. Surprise. James Harden, not great in a huge game. Surprise. And I love James Harden. Surprise. Had Jayson not done that, I don't think that he snaps out of it. Because when this game's over and you see the bench going crazy when Tatum starts hitting these shots, they're like, oh my God, we're fine. He's safe. He's okay. He just was having an episode, which is really what it was. It was just a terrible episode. It was really absolutely a meltdown, honestly. But this game's over. And this wave of relief is just like lifted off of every Celtics fan, every Celtics player. And I love that picture of Tatum and Brown just going straight for the hug after the game. I want you to inject that shit into my veins. I want you to tattoo it on my back. Okay? And it's what this team needed. It's what those two needed. I mean, Jaylen Brown practically goes on a fucking media tour halfway through the season talking about, it is what it is to be in Boston, to be a Celtic. The crowds, they are what they are, and this team is what it is. Although he did kind of resolve that by saying, guys, I never meant that to be like a media tour. Like, it's just as soon as he's like, I did those interviews like all spaced out, and it's like as soon as I became a trending topic, they all came out at once, and he actually did have some good stuff about his relationship with JT, saying that only how Jaylen Brown could, saying that instead of just say like, yeah, that's my boy, we were going to play together for a long time. He's like, man, me and Jayson, we're a part of each other's destiny, man. Like something like crazy like that. That's only how Jaylen could put it. But there was real friction, it felt like. It felt like there was real friction, and maybe there never was, and we as fans just make shit up. We do have a tendency to do that. Media has a tendency to do that. But it did. It felt like, man, maybe I'm reading too many Instagram comments, but it's like, man, could we potentially be seeing the last of this pair? Maybe this is one of the last years. Maybe this is the last year. If it really ends like this, like that's would be terrible. And it would be terrible. But they go for each other. They dab each other up. Everybody on this team has a signature handshake with one another. This locker room is tight, man. This locker room is tight, but they've looked stressed. They've looked like they've been facing pressure. And then they go for the embrace. I don't know what was said, but in my mind, I'm like, can Jaylen go to Jayson and be like, dude, how long are you going to keep fucking with us, man? Like, how long are you going to snap out of it now? Like, are you good now? Like, did you need that? Did you need to have that breakdown, that episode in this game to do that? Not like Jalen was spectacular either. We're calling him out for the shot attempts in the second half still. But then the team just rallying around each other. It's a great video of them in the locker room afterwards. Just all happy, just giddy, just glee, just like almost like realization, like, hey, we own the Sixers. Like, this is what we do. We're back. This is what we do. We kick this team's ass. How did we let this get out of hand? How did we let it get this far? And I loved it. I loved every moment of it. The post-game press conferences were amazing. Tatum gives himself an all-timer. That's going to be, if they win this series, that's an all-time great post-game interview where he's just like, humbly, I am one of the best basketball players in the world, and shots are going to fall when they fall, man. And I was like, you know what? Damn right. Damn right. You've earned the right to say that. Brown calls out the Boston home crowd, demands them to be more present in these games. He says, not only that, but he not only does he call him out, but he then goes on to say, man, when the Garden's going, there's nothing like it. And that's what I think we all needed to hear from him. Like, hey, Jaylen, we love you. Like, you are like the second guy on a team, but you still have like top 10 jersey sales. Like, we love you. Like, you are just as much our guy as Tatum, just as much as Smart, just as much as anybody. We've got your back. Like, we love you. And I'm glad he just kind of gave the acknowledgement back to the fans there. Smart with a really interesting tidbit after this game where he goes on to say, they ask him about Joe Mazzulla, and he praises Joe Mazzulla for the adjustment to start Williams and some of the other things that go on in this game. And also says, man, Joe's gotten killed this year, and rightfully so. And I was like, I didn't think that much of it. When he said it, I was like, oh, neat. But I think a lot of people really took it too far with what the repercussions of that could be. Here's the way I think of it, man. Joe Mazzulla has not been perfect, man. And we've all called him on his bullshit. Whether it be poor usage of timeouts, that's a good one. Lack of adjustments, or just getting too cute with shit. Like, we've all called him out on certain things. And it was refreshing to see it. Like, it's been the elephant in the room for a while now. Like, this is a 34-year-old rookie head coach who was sitting on, who wasn't even a lead assistant for the Udoka staff last year, he was just kind of the right guy for the job, and that's why he got the job. And that's great if you're coaching a team with, maybe playing aspirations or a rebuilding team. Not when you're coaching maybe the most talented team in the sport. But I think he's done well with the cards he's been dealt, man. And I think some people thought that his voice was lost on the locker room. I think not. I don't think so. Tatum goes to bat for him after that game and says, yeah, I've been talking to him all season. I've been telling him, I got you. We know that they've been going out to dinners this year. When you star player and your coach are going to dinner, I think that matters. And I think it was just great. Like the team was super honest in the post games. They weren't just giving bullshit, fucking stupid answers like, oh, we gotta have more effort, or it was like, hey, we came out and we balled, and they looked joyous. They looked happy. They looked like, man, we're a pretty good team. Like, we're a pretty damn good team. And I have all the confidence in the world that this team can win Game 7. I have all the confidence in the world the Garden will be lit. I think it's going to be popping. I think had they just barely escaped that game, or Tatum still finished that game really bad, I think maybe the reception to them at home wouldn't have been as good. But, man, they figured it out. They turned it around just in time. And we got a Game 7 in Boston on Sunday, man. Got a Game 7 in Boston on Sunday. I'm stoked. I really am. If you couldn't tell already, It's gonna be another high stakes game, but once again, just feeling good about it. Just feeling good about it. I'm gonna have the Tommy Heinsohn poster. I'm gonna have his face facing the TV, watching the game together. And if the C's win, you can probably expect me on a podcast that night. And if they don't, you're probably going to need to give me a couple of business days to recover. But that's not what we're rooting for. We're rooting for the downfall of the Philadelphia 76ers, man. Harden, you're not safe. 4 for 16 sucks in a closeout game, okay? Like, I can't defend you anymore, especially now that you're in Philly, bullshitted your way out of Houston. Nah, I think Harden's going to go down on my all-time favorite player rankings. I think he is. And maybe not. Maybe as soon as the series is over, I'll hang all his jerseys back up. We'll see. Oh, yeah. Also, side note, going into this game, right as I'm sitting down, I think the channel was turned to like, I don't know, whenever, like stupid national news. It was like national news, like Lester Holt or whatever. I don't even know if that's who that is anymore. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But the freaking leading headline was the story of James Harden and how his impact off the court. And it was, look, admittedly, this story with, I forget what school it is, but this shooting survivor, John Howe, who's currently still, I believe, in a wheelchair. Yeah, he was actually paralyzed. That story is awesome. Like, this story is really incredible. And it was actually, for about 0.3 seconds, really cool when you realized that awesome game 4 was after he brought John Howe to the game. And then he goes on Instagram afterwards and takes pictures with him and says, "That's my good luck charm." And that was really cool, man. Seriously. But that was like the leading headline before the game. Was like, great. Now there's a national agenda and reason to root for James Harden at the 76ers. Like, that doesn't bode well. But really, that was an awesome story. I just thought it was so great. Like, as soon as I was sitting down to watch this game, it's like, and here's an amazing story about James Harden. I was like, oh, great. Here we go. Cancel your Mother's Day plans or just have mom watch the game, right? Yeah. Somebody's Mother's Day going to be ruined. I just hope it's not mine. We'll take a break now. We went long enough on that. Was kind of all over the place, but I think I'm frazzled because that game still has me all tweaked out, and this weather has been nuts, and I'm terrified that I'm going to have hail damage on my car. That's okay. We'll be accepting donations here soon. I'll put a link in the description. No, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and talk a little bit about the Warriors. So, LeBron James and the Lakers dominant in Game 6 at home against the Warriors. They showed up all when they needed to, and the Warriors go home earlier than they expected to. All around pretty disappointing series for the Warriors, right? You didn't get your best Steph games, and that's okay. Like, it's like he can't be the superhero every night. That's kind of the story of this series, is like, outside of your top guy, who all do you trust? That was kind of what I had thought about this entire series, as I just thought the Lakers had more guys that they trusted, right? Especially when you add in halfway through the series, they add one more of those guys in the form of Lonnie Walker, who now is playing every night and was really good again tonight in a closeout game. Lonnie Walker kind of close to my heart because he played here in San Antonio for as long as he did. Look, Golden State, it's not pretty going forward. Like, it's fun to pay guys a ton of money when things are going well, when you're winning titles. But how about when you're exiting in the second round? How about when you underperform? How about when you almost lose to the Sacramento Kings? Not a slight to the Kings. It's just for the Warriors, they have greater expectations. This team's getting older. It's not as fun to pay guys when they're older. $95 million committed to 2 players next year. Now, one of them is Steph Curry, and you do that. The other is Klay Thompson, who at times has looked like peak Klay Thompson in this series, and other times he goes 3 for 18 and looks just abysmal. He had several games in this series alone where he did not look like himself. But he is still Klay Thompson. He is still a huge part of the Warriors' identity. He's been there for every title. He's been there since the beginning. He is the second Splash Brother. And he led the league in threes this season. You can't escape that either. Look, those two we know for fact they're going to be back next year. Wiggins at this point is pretty much on a pretty good bargain. He's making in the mid-20s pretty much until the end of his deal, and he's their second best guy. And tonight he looked a little bit slower. He was definitely hampered with that. I believe it was a leg injury. You could tell he looked a step slow. They moved him off of LeBron on defense. So that's like a bright spot, right? What else do we have? We have a $27 million player option for Draymond. And I think some people are like, oh, he's going to take that in a heartbeat. But if there's a way that they can come to terms on a long-term deal, maybe at slightly less money, I think that's probably a more likely option. I think Draymond, as he's getting older, is probably looking for a little bit more security. He's made really good money up until this point, and I think I know he's gone on record and saying, like, he's maybe the last one they need to take care of, like, for real, like with a huge bag. I would argue that he's not been as important to the Warriors' run as the other two, Steph and Klay. However, at this point, Draymond Green is still an elite defensive player, one of the best in the league, and I don't know, like, he is like their heartbeat, their pulse. He punched Jordan Poole and got away with it, man. Does that mean that he's a lock to come back? No, definitely not. I think of anybody in the top 5 for the Warriors, he's the most likely to be moved. I think there's sign and trade potential there. I don't know. Like, he gets ejected, or he gets suspended in the playoffs again. He has his moments. He lashes out. He's Draymond, and he's gonna Draymond, and I just don't know if they want to continue to deal with that type of stuff. If the Warriors are in love with it, if they're like all over it, if they're like, sign me up for more Draymond. It certainly hasn't felt like that, and it felt like when they paid Poole all that money, it felt like they made a decision, and now Poole's horrible, like unplayable in a playoff game, and I couldn't have predicted that. I mean, they won a title with the kid last year, but I could have told you he's probably not worth $28 million a year, and that he was in the G League like 2 years ago, and there's usually good reason for a guy to spend significant time in the G League, so there's that. I could have told you he couldn't guard anybody. That was obvious. And I could tell you he was one of the more streaky, get hot guys in the league. And a streaky get hot guy is really a 6-man and probably worth about half that money. And he hasn't even been that. He hasn't even been a good, reliable 6-man. He had one pretty good game here, and even that game was marred with some disappointment when he let it fly from about 35 feet with time left on the clock and space on the floor. And that's what people are going to remember about Jordan Poole in this series. And I think it's fair, because when you get paid big money, you have big money expectations, and that contract's just getting started next year, and it's not pretty. I wonder if the Warriors just try to turn it around, try to salvage Poole, like keep him on the roster and say, like, we're not going to get anything better than you in return, so we may as well start working on you right now. But is there a world in which they just pay up and just attach what though? Like attach something to Jordan Poole's contract to get rid of him? You can't attach James Wiseman. I mean, he was kind of viewed as a liability, and he is now in Detroit and was better towards the end of the season with Detroit than he was in Golden State. I don't know. I think it's hard for these young guys to blend in with these sage, wise old vets in Golden State. You saw it with Wiseman. You see it with Poole. Although Poole just feels like a nuclear level meltdown from the player he was a year ago. He was definitely a playable guy. He was starting for the Warriors. Remember when Steph came off the bench when he was returning from injury, and they were like, yeah, we're going to turn to Jordan Poole for these moments. And he showed up and was big time. So who on the Warriors do you like? Who do you trust? Outside of the top three, Steph, Draymond, Klay, and Wiggins, who do you like? Who do you like? Do you like DiVincenzo? Do you like him enough to like really count on him in a playoff game? Do you like Jordan Poole? Do you like Gary Payton? I like Kevon Looney, yeah. And he's on a fucking steal, 9.5 mil. That's great. Let's talk about the upcoming free agent class. Not like the Warriors can even get involved here, but if they did shuffle money around, I mean, who knows? It's Westbrook, it's Harden, it's Porzingis, it's Russell D'Angelo, it's Vucevic, it's Middleton, it's Jeremy Grant, Kyle Kuzma, Malik Beasley, Gary Trent, Karis LeVert. It's not a great list. That's the point. It's not a great list. It's one of the weaker free agent classes in recent memory. And it's not going to help the Warriors out at all. They don't have the cap space, but even if they wanted to go get like a mid-level guy, like the options aren't great. This team can get better through trade, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. Gary Payton came back to this team and did not look like he did last year, did not have near the impact he did last year. And was kind of exposed as just like a small scrappy guard, which I always thought he was, but he actually was really good in the finals last year and provided good value for the Warriors. I don't know what to do if I'm the Warriors. I think they're in a weird time of limbo. If you told me Steve Kerr wasn't coaching this team next year, I wouldn't be stunned. You know, he's got assignments with Team USA, and if he just wanted to take some time off, it wouldn't like shock me. They've had ownership like rumblings, like is Joe Lacob all in on this team? Is Bob Myers? Like getting that right? Bob Myers? It's late night. Is Bob Myers all in on this team? Like, they're in a weird state of limbo. One thing I would guarantee you, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are on this team next year. I would guarantee you, I would almost guarantee you that Wiggins is on this team next year. Once again, like a case of you trade him, who are you going to get back? Who are you getting back that's better than Wiggins? It's just a weird point to be at. Let's do an exercise. If I was the Warriors, if I was the GM of the Warriors for a day, it's tough. I'm trading Poole, but what am I getting back? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm getting back. And this is the hole that they have dug themselves into. It's going to be hard to get out of it. The only reason this team makes it this deep in the playoffs is because of the experience, the continuity, the greatness of Steph and Curry. It's going to be interesting, man. Meanwhile, the Lakers are just rolling and just riddled with fun toys off the bench and fun just lineup pieces. The emergence of Austin Reeves, the emergence of Lonnie Walker, Rui Hachimura has been good in this series, in this playoff run. They've gotten stuff from Schroeder, from Russell, guys that they weren't sure if they were going to get a lot out of. They've gotten a lot out of all these guys. And it's just crazy because at the beginning of the season, the Lakers start 2-10, and you just wouldn't have expected this outcome. But they did a really good job building this roster and getting rid of Westbrook. It's just one of the first dominoes to fall. On Sunday, another team will be eliminated. And whether it be Boston or Philly, you expect one of them, either one is going to have to make some sort of changes in the offseason, because it would be by their definition, a failure to not reach the conference final, to not be back in the finals, depending on whichever team loses. If it's the Sixers, Harden's probably gone, if you ask me. Rivers is probably gone. Is Daryl Morey gone? I don't know. Is Joel Embiid starting to get to the point where get angsty and be like, where's my winning contender? Why did you trade Jimmy Butler? What's going on with this team? What's the future of this team? Am I supposed to lock down roots here? Is this where I'm going to win a title? Is this where I'm going to be best equipped? If it's Boston, is it, okay, have we seen enough of Marcus Smart? Is Al Horford still got enough left in the tank? Can we count on Robert Williams to be there every night? Is Joe Mazzulla, who we just signed to a huge deal, really the guy? Did we overreact to that? Should we have not jumped the gun on that? We'll hear all about Ime Udoka. We'll hear all about everything. We'll hear all about the Jays and splitting them up, and they wouldn't do that. But, no matter what, it's at this point in the postseason where all the teams left are really important. And for the most part, we expected to be here-ish. Miami, I'm looking at you. How the hell did you get here? But they're zombies, man. They're zombies. And they got Kevin Love, who the Cavs just literally just gave up on. And their heads should be rolling in Cleveland for that. Really, should be. But nonetheless, it's going to be a fun remaining postseason. It's going to be a crazy offseason. We got the draft lottery in a couple of days. We got the draft lottery on Tuesday. We'll definitely talk about that. We'll definitely talk about the results of the draft lottery. Come back on Monday when I predict the results of the draft lottery. Just kidding. There's going to be some stupid shtick like that on ESPN, predicting the odds of who gets Wembanyama. We actually did, a lot of this stuff is a lot of these podcasts are very time relevant and the time sensitive. Something that didn't, that has aged well. I don't know what episode it was. You can just read the titles. There's not that many yet, guys. The backlog isn't that full. Did a podcast talking about the best landing spots for Victor Wembanyama. That was with some time left in the regular season, and I thought that was fun and something that I enjoyed doing. Might even be a video of that on the YouTube channel. More reason for you to check out the YouTube channel. All right, this thunder is coming back to haunt me, and I can literally see rain falling through this dumbass chimney. I don't know why they put chimneys in apartments. I don't get it now. I will never understand it. But if I wake up in a flooded room, you may not be hearing from me again. Thank you for joining another late night. It is now 2:06 in the morning. Late night episode. Game 7 in Boston, man. Go Celtics. See you on the next one.